Hey everyone, in this video I'll be ranking all the weapons in Resident Evil 9 Requiem's Insanity mode on a tier list from best to worst. Now some of the weapons are just a whole lot better than others, which we'll be exploring in this video, as some of them are just not worth taking. But we have all 23 different weapons here, going to be starting off with the knives and progressing through all the weapons to let you guys know which of these are going to be best in your Insanity run. Now, first up, we'll be looking at knives. Grace has 4 different choices here, and we'll just be honest with you guys, one of them is way better than the other. So we got here the Rip Knife, which gives you additional blood whenever you take out an enemy, and it does more damage. This item is actually the only exclusive item to Insanity mode. But we also have the classic Makeshift Knife, as well as the Hunting Knives and the Kotetsu. The thing is, the Kotetsu, the Hunting Knife, and the Makeshift Knife all do the same amount of damage. They have low durability, with the Hunting Knife having terrible durability, and they always come pretty beat up. So, on this tier list, we're just going to throw the Makeshift Knife in D tier. Kotetsu has some use because it's an infinite use knife, so I will put it somewhere probably like maybe like B tier if I'm being generous. This is good if you're doing the speed run and doing it without like any heals or using the blood extractor, because this weapon is great for just staggering bosses and enemies, but it doesn't hold a torch to the others. I actually just put it in C tier for Insanity, and Hunting Knife also going in the D tier. But if you're in your Insanity playthrough, you want to have the Rip Knife here. It's just going to give you a bit more blood for crafting if you need that. And to get yourself a Rip Knife of your own, you're actually going to come over to the Parlor section of the map, and it's just going to be right in here. You can also find another one if you come over to the waiting room over here, and in this closet, you have to have the wristband 1 here to be able to access it, and you get a crafting ability to be able to make one of these on your own. I would recommend it because the Rip Knife is just so powerful, has a lot more damage, gives you 30 extra of the blood off every enemy that you end up killing, and it costs 110 plus a scrap to be able to create it yourself, and it's very much so worth doing because the damage from this thing is a whole lot higher. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say this is a solid like 8 out of 10. I'd put it in the A tier. It is a good weapon in Insanity mode, and the other ones just aren't really worth using. The Kotetsu is good to have. I guess I could probably say B tier, but it's just more so for staggering enemies. Now, next up, we got Leon's 2 hatchets. So I'm just going to compare the Mortal Edge because you come with the hatchet basically built in. The hatchet is going to give you a slight bit more damage, but the Mortal Edge is going to give you a better chance at blocking and parrying enemies. Now, this can be nice when it comes to like any type of fighting, because having that extra ability to parry is good in this mode, because the attacks that you can get face off against are going to be kind of challenging here. Having some form of defensive option is very nice if you need it, and I would actually recommend doing this because the extra damage from the hatchet, while it's useful, is you're gonna get more out of actually just using the Mortal Edge here, because the parries are super good, and yeah, it can just make things a lot easier. Yeah, between the Mortal Edge and the hatchet, I would just honestly say go with the Mortal Edge just for that extra parry ability. It's really useful. I'd actually just say it's probably around B, maybe low A tier. Yeah, we'll say somewhere around here. Now, Grace gets to choose between 3 different pistols and the Requiem here, and there's no real clear answer between these. There's like one that's just obviously the worst choice, but the Freya's Needle here, which I am using a mod that gives it that umbrella logo, is okay. It seems like it's going to be better than it is. So our 3 pistols are the B934, which you're going to want to trade out for the S&S M232 here, which is just a straight upgrade. You can see between the stats there, everything about this ends up being better. And then we have Freya's Needle here. This is one of the special content weapons. Now, is this better than the S&S M232? It's not really. Now, it is a pistol that shoots really quickly, so I'll pull out, this is the S&S here, just to give you an idea. So I got 1 shot there, a couple shots. The damage from this thing is not super amazing, but it's just enough to get by as Grace. Leon's kind of the damage dealer here, so most zombies will end up taking a couple full magazines to actually be able to take care of them. And then something like Freya's Needle here literally is going to take the entire clip dumped into them to actually do something. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind. While it is going to have a faster fire rate than the other pistol, its damage ends up being a little bit lower. If you're on infinite ammo, that's not too much of a deal, but I would say the Freya's Needle is slightly better. So my opinion is, if you got infinite ammo on, use Freya's Needle here. It's going to be the better option, but if you're not using the infinite ammo, I would recommend going with just the good old-fashioned regular pistol there, because you're going to get a little bit more stagger and more out of your bullets. So yeah, we're going to throw Grace's starting pistol at the bottom of the D tier. It's not good. I'll throw her regular pistol just because this is going to be a decent option. Probably, I'll say C tier. And then the Freya's Needle is probably going to go to the top of the B tier. I can't say it's an amazing weapon because none of Grace's are really, except for the Requiem. So yeah, we're setting that B tier. Now, Leon's pistols are a lot more fun. We start off with the Alligator Snapper here. You got the Silencer 9 as the other upgrade, and then the Matilda Imp here returning from Resident Evil 2. This is a solid weapon, but which weapon is best. Here's the alligator snapper, so I'm just going to use this. Very slow fire rate, and I think this is one of the biggest downsides here. It's going to have a very long time to kill here, and you can see there we were able to take one out. And then here's the silencer 9, so it can shoot a lot quicker, and I think that's one of the biggest upsides to this is that you can just spam this a little bit faster, and yeah, you can see there, clear upgrade. But then here's the Matilda Imp, so this is the 3-round burst pistol, and you can kind of treat it like an SMG. 3 bursts there to take out a zombie, so yeah, it comes out a lot quicker, you're able to take out zombies faster, but a little bit like our last situation with Freya's Needle there. The Imp here is going to go through ammo a little bit quicker since the rounds do a little bit less damage, and you're going to shoot through your magazines a little faster. However, infinite ammo, that's not a worry. So my thoughts, I'd probably put the alligator snapper also in the D tier. It's just not good. The silencer 9 is an all right choice. I'd probably say it's like a high C tier, like maybe B tier pick. And then the Imp I would put into the B tier. Probably the top of the B tier. Not the best. He has much better weapons, but it's the best pistol that we got. Now after pistols, we have our hand cannons here, and there's 2 choices, and actually a very interesting option. So the Requiem's going to have more power when fully upgraded. You can see there, it does more damage. The rate of fire increase in the Ghost Grudge, however, you're going to see is actually very interesting. They both hold 5-round magazine. The thing with the Ghost Grudge is it's going to resettle after you're firing your shots a lot quicker than the Requiem will. And you can see it here. It actually won't let us shoot at the paddy wagon here, but the Requiem's going to have a huge amount of recoil there, and then resettling the shots does take a moment compared to the Ghost Grudge, which comes out a lot quicker here. You see you resettle your shots. Now the thing is, when it comes to Insanity mode, having that extra shot come out a little bit quicker is going to mean a whole lot when zombies can tank hits from the Requiem at times like you've seen there. So it is worth using something like the Ghost Grudge because this will allow you to get that follow-up shot a lot quicker, as the Requiem may not be doing what you expected to do in this difficulty mode. So being able to double tap is so good, and I'd have to say that the Ghost Grudge ends up being the better choice here, believe it or not. So I would have to put the Ghost Grudge, honestly, in the S tier. The Requiem is still great. I would have to say that it is like I'm going to put it, I'll be generous, the game's Requiem. I'm going to put it in the low A tier. You can still have a great playthrough if you're going to use the Requiem, obviously being extremely strong. And I would recommend infinite ammo, obviously, for using these. But even if we're not using infinite ammo, the Ghost Grudge just a straight upgrade because they're going to comparatively deal the same amount of damage, just have that faster resettle and fire rate. Now before we move on, I want to talk about red dot sights because some people don't like it. There's actually an option if you go into the settings here. Just below the aim assist, there is the dot sight perspective. I'd recommend actually turning this off because then it's going to give you this nice dot to aim with and you don't have to go into that first person's perspective. So it is a whole lot better to do it this way, in my opinion, just because it's going to help you with the aiming and keeping zombies out of your perspective. Now into our SMG style weapons, I'm going to acknowledge this is not an SMG, it's an assault rifle that's kind of a carbine in between the two. I'm just using the terminology the game is using. So we have the Gall here, which is a SMG that's got a lot of recoil to it. The Styrie Revo has less recoil, but it ends up having a little bit less damage and a smaller magazine. And the best weapon in the game, in my opinion, is the clatter carbine here, which is an assault rifle fitted with a large suppressor, as it says there. I'm just using the words from the game. I keep getting a ton of comments anytime I mention this gun about how people want to classify it, but the clatter carbine's a clear winner. I'm just going to show you the recoil here. So here's the Gall. You can see very inaccurate. It's really tough to use this weapon, in all honesty. I had some people commenting saying using like a pistol, but even then you're just going to burst and it's not worth using in the Insanity mode when you can use something like the Styrie here, which has that nice clean recoil. And here's the clatter carbine, the smallest magazine and a little bit of a spread, but you can see there, you can kind of aim it relatively decently and the damage is where it really shines. So here's the Gall going to deal with a liquor here, and you're going to see that the damage from this is nothing like spectacular here. We were able to take it out with around 60 rounds out of the magazine. And then we have ourselves the Styrie here, and you're going to see that its damage is great. It fires really quickly as well. Wasn't able to take it out there in the first round because it does require you to land more of your shots there. So you see, we were able to take him out with just two magazines there. But much better is a clatter carbine here, which you can see is just going to tear through enemies really quickly. Yeah, we didn't even make it through the entire magazine there, and this is dead. So yeah, this actually is a really easy one to compare just because the damage from this thing is so absurdly strong. You can see it there. If you're getting countered by multiple liquors here, using this weapon is probably your key to success just because the stopping power this thing has is so high, and it's just a really easy to use weapon. Smaller magazine's got a little recoil compared to the Styrie, but in all honesty, I do think this is the best weapon in Resident Evil 9 Requiem. So we're going to throw the Gall in the very low D tier. Maybe somewhere, yeah, we'll say C tier. SMGs are not like the worst thing ever. I'll put the Styrie at the low B tier here, so we'll say somewhere around there. And the clatter carbine, definitely top of the S tier. Because yeah, the damage output from this thing is just next level, so it is very much worth using. You see there, just tearing down zombies in just a few bullets. Now on to shotguns. We have three choices here. We have the MSBG 500, the worst by far, and this one, even fully maxed out, only has a max of rounds of 5. This one has max 8 and max 10. You can see the damage from the W870 police is a little bit is the highest, and we have the 990 TAC here. Now the stats don't really lie. You can tell that these two are obviously better, but there's a little something about one of these here that I want to talk about. So here's the MSBG 500. I'm going to show you how fast it shoots. It's got a massive spread there, so you can see pretty large. And then we got ourselves the police shotgun here. This one actually has some pretty solid stagger too. It's got a slower fire rate though. You can see there it does take you the time to be able to pump it, but that's okay. Then we have the 990 TAC here, which you can see very small circle there to shoot with, and it comes out a whole lot faster. While it does have less damage than the police shotgun, the fact that you can shoot this quicker ends up making it better in terms of overall damage output because of that. I also want to mention charms. I've been just keeping them off for the most part just to be able to accurately show the differences between these weapons. But the cute bear charm here increases mid-range firepower, sacrificing close quarters potency for shotguns. I'll show it in action, but here's the MSBG 500. I'm just going to use it against the liquor here. Yeah, this is not able to do a whole lot. It took 5 rounds there, and they're still going strong. So yeah, that's why I don't recommend that one. Here's the police shotgun. It is just a much better option. And with this, you're going to get a damage reduction option, so I can actually show these properly because these things are very aggressive. The police shotgun does take multiple rounds to be able to take out enemies. The damage from this thing is much better, and it's actually worth using over the MSBG 500. But you can see there, it does have that slower fire rate, which can mean life or death when you're getting into some harder content. And here's the TAC 990. So this shoots a lot quicker, and you can see that it's very accurate with the shots here. It has that further away potency that I'd recommend shooting at like the mid-range there, but it took 7 shots to finish that off. And that's coming out a lot quicker than the other shotguns due to its fast fire rate. So that's one thing I like about the TAC 990 is that it's got a very solid damage. Again, you want to be using someone at the mid-range if you possibly can. But yeah, I took that out in 6 shots there. So pretty effective. Again, depends on the range that you're shooting these things at because it's going to get that boost at the mid-range there. So yeah, the TAC 990 is a very solid weapon. Again, I'm just turning off the damage so that I can accurately show the amount of shots it does require to take out these enemies here. Headshots obviously on these liquors does matter, but it's around 6 to 7 shots. And then if we look at a zombie here, yeah, it works a whole lot better. The stagger from this thing is pretty effective. So TAC 990 is definitely the answer to pretty much all of your problems in Resident Evil 9's Requiem's Insanity mode. So yeah, this is a weapon I would definitely recommend reusing. That took a few more shots there, but yeah, to rank these shotguns, I would have to say that the very first MSBG 500, this one is going into the D tier, probably the lowest D tier. It's just bad. The police shotgun, it's not terrible, but yeah, I'd probably say with its higher damage, it is okay. I'd put it at the lower end of the B tier, kind of like the Steery. They're usable, but they're not going to be your best choices. And the TAC 990, I'd actually have to say is S tier. It's fast fire rate, tight spread. It just does everything the other shotguns do better. It does have a little bit less damage than the police. It seems to have similar stagger, in my opinion, to that one, but yeah, it's definitely S tier. And next up is our marksman rifles with the classic 70, the marksman 1A, and I'm actually going to include the redemption here. I had it with the pistols, but I moved it down because this uses the same ammunition as those, so I think it's fair to judge it. One thing I do want to mention is that this weapon is best used with the power shades charm because this is going to increase the power of the last bullet in the cylinder, and this only has a single fire rate. So they're really shoving it down your throat that this is a, as you know, is a Wesker clone, but hey, it is what it is. Now, the classic 70 is great. I'd actually say this is better on other difficulty modes, but when it comes to Insanity mode, if you're going to use the infinite ammo, the marksman 1A just ends up being better with its really fast fire rate. The damage from the classic 70 is a lot higher, but I do want to mention the redemption is very solid here, and I'm going to show you what the damage ends up looking like. And I would highly recommend throwing the BSAA emblem charm here on the marksman 1A, or the other one if you want to use the classic 70. So here's the classic 70 without the scope on it here. It's got strong power, and it's got a little bit of stagger to you that you can see there. So it does take a few rounds to be able to take out an enemy. Its slower fire rate is what makes it a lot more challenging to use. So I would recommend if you're using this weapon to just focus on, like, you know, keeping your distance there. 5 rounds to take out a liquor here. Now here's the marksman 1A, and I have the scope off it here now. So this thing does actually very considerable damage too, and its fast fire rate is where it really shines. You can see here I'm able to shoot multiple times. The damage is obviously a lot lower there. It took around 10 hits, so about twice as much to be able to take out the enemy there, but that was without some optimal shots. I'll take out this enemy here a little quicker to show you guys the difference, but the marksman 1A is my preference. You can use this pretty well without the sight on it. I missed a couple shots, missed 3 shots there. Yeah, it's a tricky one to showcase actually because these things are so aggressive, but I just want to show it against some of the more powerful enemies in the game. So that actually ended up taking 6 shots there to finish off the liquor with the BSAA charm equipped. And here's the redemption. Be mindful it's got a single shot, so it does have a little bit of a drawback where you do have to reload it after every shot. But you see there, the stopping power from this thing is pretty absurd. Like being able to two-shot enemies like that is really nice. And here, I'll just show it again because the damage from this thing is pretty awesome. So yeah, redemption with the power shades charm, they are one-shotting a liquor if you get that headshot off. So that's obviously a very crucial thing. If you can get past the whole reload after every shot, this thing is actually a beast of a weapon. So it looks cool too. I love these long guns like this that are very powerful. Compared to the Marksman 1A, you can kind of get by with using either of these. This really depends on your playstyle. The Marksman 1A is going to have a bit more in the clip or in the magazine there to be able to take out enemies. I unfortunately missed that shot there, but yeah, the stopping power on this thing is next level. It may take a couple shots to finish off most enemies, but it's going to tear through any type of zombie. So for that reason, I'd actually have to say that the going with the classic 70 here is not really your best option. I'm going to put this lower, probably top of C tier. It's not as good as the Marksman 1A with the BSAA charm, which I'm going to say is an S tier, like top of the A tier to S tier pick. It's kind of between that and the redemption. This is like, you could easily swap either of these around. I don't want to just put both of these in the S tier, even though the redemption does feel like it's an actual like good weapon. It's the 1-round magazine. You can split between these two here. This is actually the hardest part for this video, is deciding between these two weapons because they're just so good in their own rights. If you like having high ammo, the Marksman 1A is your go-to with the BSAA charm. If you don't like having high ammo, just want more power, go with the redemption. I actually may just move the redemption down to A tier, but it could easily go S tier. And finally, we got ourselves the RPG-7, which is obviously pretty strong because you can shoot it and it just incinerate and explode every single thing that you see. And yeah, it's the RPG, so it's going to be really difficult to use properly, but obviously extremely devastating in terms of the power of this thing. So yeah, use it with sparingly, obviously, because this thing is just so strong, but it's the RPG-7. You do have to unlock special unlimited ammo for it to be able to use this. So yeah, it's one that I'm just going to say is probably somewhere around the like low A tier. It's not going to be like the best weapon in the game, but overview, if you're watching this from the start of the video, I'd recommend going back and seeing all the context. But S tier, the best weapon easily in the game is the clatter carbine. High damage, fast fire rate, slow reload. Everything about this thing is insanely good. It's going to be the weapon you probably are using the most if you're doing Insanity. Next up, we got the Ghost Grudge. This is just a faster firing version of the Requiem. Slightly lower damage, but I think that's made up for in terms of how fast you can resettle your shots and hit the enemy with it. The TAC 990, the best shotgun. Tight spread, good damage, even has the teddy bear charm to get its damage boosted up. I think this is great for the stagger potential as well. Marksman 1A or the Redemption could easily go S tier. It's kind of a swap depending if you like single firing or if you prefer to have a high magazine. And then into the A tier, we got ourselves a Rip Knife, amazing for getting the extra blood and the huge amount of extra damage that you get with the only weapon that's exclusive to Insanity mode here. Requiem and the RPG, they're great, but I would have to say the core 4 up top are the absolute best. So let me know your thoughts in the comments on the best weapons for Insanity mode. I also did a tier list for non-Insanity mode if you're curious for like if you're doing speed runs and things like that. And I also did a video of the top 30 mods, which you may have noticed I have a few different outfit mods here. So you can check that out if you're curious, but hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed. We'll catch you in the next one.